Ladies and gentlemen, welcome and thank you for joining today's Tethys Wind webinar. Please note that all participant lines will be muted for the duration of today's event. You are welcome to submit written questions throughout the presentation, and these will be addressed during Q&A. To send a note, please make sure to select all panelists on the Send To drop-down menu of the chat panel, which is located on the bottom right-hand side of your screen. If you require technical assistance, you may send a private note to the event producer. And with that, I would like to formally begin today's conference and introduce Senior Marine Scientist Andrea Copping. Please go ahead.
Thank you, Tanya. Good morning, everyone. Thank you very much for joining us today. This is Andrea Copping with Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. And today's speaker is going to be Jonathan Whiting, who is going to talk about our knowledge management system we call Tethys, which supports wind energy development as well as marine renewable energy development. Jonathan is an environmental engineer here at Pacific Northwest National Laboratory. We are located on the West Coast in Seattle, to be exact, Seattle, Richland, and Sequim. John has been intimately involved with the development and upkeep of Tethys for the last 6 years, and he's probably the person best able to really explain what this online system can do for you. So I'd like to turn it over to John, please.
Great. Thank you, Andrea, and thank you, everyone, for joining us today. As Andrea noted, I've been with PNNL for over 6 years now, since near the beginning of the project, and it's my pleasure today to give you some background on Tethys and walk you through the site. So whether you're new to Tethys or you've been using it for years, my hope is that you come away with a better understanding of the content and features on Tethys, and that you learn to use it as a tool in your workplace and share it with colleagues. And again, please do ask questions. The Q&A session will be a lot more interesting if you do so. So today I'm going to start with some background information, then I'll walk through a demonstration using Tethys, and then wrap it up with a few quick tips on how to get more involved. I know we're scheduled for an hour today, but I plan to keep it under 20 minutes with time for questions at the end. So for those who have no idea what Tethys is and keep thinking it should be pronounced Tethys, you're probably right on the pronunciation, but we've been calling it Tethys from the start. Tethys is an online knowledge management system, meaning we collect and organize information so you can find what you're looking for quickly and easily. The purpose is to inform environmental permitting to advance the industry in an environmentally sustainable manner. We accomplish this by collecting and curating information, then synthesizing it, and then outreach on the findings. Tethys contains both wind energy and marine renewables, but for the duration of the talk, I'm going to focus on wind. But throughout all this, do know that the marine renewable is also very active on the site. Now, Tethys was developed and is actively maintained by the Pacific Northwest National Lab. We have a development team that handles site improvements, and we have a content team that is regularly adding content to the site. Funding is provided by the U.S. Department of Energy and is expected to continue for the foreseeable future. To give a feel for the traffic that we see each year, Tethys sees over 500,000 page views each year from a very international crowd. And these numbers steadily grow each year. The timeline shows some major milestones for Tethys. You can see planning began in 2010. The site was officially launched in 2012 and later migrated to the Drupal platform in 2014. Meanwhile, in 2013, an international collaboration known as WREN was formed to look at the environmental effects of wind energy, and they identified Tethys as a platform for which to host their activities, which at the time, Tethys only had marine renewables and offshore wind on it, so WREN initiated a very large effort to collect more wind documents and formally added land-based wind content in 2015. WREN also encouraged a partition of the site between wind and marine renewables, which you'll see during the walkthrough in case you're interested in one technology or the other and don't want to see the opposite technology. Now, content in Tethys is unique in that Tethys is a comprehensive database with a very narrow scope, very focused on the environmental effects of wind and marine renewables. Our content team adds all content manually rather than with automated digesters, and this gives better quality and relevance of the content, as more important material doesn't get buried under quantity that you'll often see through automated processes. The primary content in Tethys is publications, and this includes both peer-reviewed literature as well as gray literature, such as technical reports and theses, giving an overall holistic, comprehensive view of research in the area. Below you can see some examples of a few publications. Other content includes recordings of webinars, information on international events, list of organizations active in the space, and other databases that are supplementary to Tethys. Now, I mentioned REN before. REN is an international collaborative formed as part of the International Energy Agency's WIND Committee, also known as Task 34. There are currently 12 countries involved, and the membership has slowly grown over the years. Each country has an organization involved in wind energy that represents them, and an individual ambassador, as we like to call them, that's identified. The U.S. leads the effort as the operating agent, and the National Renewable Energy Lab and Pacific Northwest National Lab implement on behalf of the Department of Energy in partnership with BOEM, Fish and Wildlife Service, and NOAA. The group is currently in their second phase going through 2020 with a chance for further extension after that. REN was formed to encourage international collaboration to address the environmental effects of wind energy. And as noted before, REN activities are all hosted on Tethys. You can see a URL right there at the bottom of the screen, and we'll visit that during our walkthrough. Some of the products that are included, that are provided by REN and hosted on Tethys include the development of white papers, and these are often translated to multiple languages by REN members. We also create short science summaries, which are quick 2-page briefings on a particular topic. And REN also hosts quarterly webinars, which you are all welcome to join. The next one is expected in the September timeframe. REN also plans international workshops and seminars around major international conferences, and you can find information about all of these on Tethys. Now we're going to jump into the walkthrough. I plan to focus on the primary resources in Tethys and briefly note or skip the existence of other tools as we go. Feel free to ask more questions about the parts that I skipped during the Q&A if they're interesting to you. And since this is a webinar and you are likely in front of your computer, feel free to open up Tethys and explore the website during the talk. You can see the website URL at the top left. It's tethys.pnnl.gov. So this is the Tethys page, and I'm going to this is the home page, and I'm going to point things out as I go. At the top of the page is a text search bar that scans all pages on Tethys. So if you know what you're looking for, this is a quick and easy way to find it, and this is available to you on every page. There's also this bird picture actually rotates daily between several other animal pictures, but there's always displayed these rotating announcements that highlight new reports, webinars, conference abstract deadlines, and more. And then the 4 blocks below highlight content areas in Tethys. You can click on wind energy or REN to quickly learn more about either topic. To the right is a small events calendar that highlights key international events, and as you hover over the highlighted dates, more information about the event is shown. Below that is a space that highlights the most recent Tethys story. These are written by members of the Tethys community, similar to a blog but more detailed, and there's a new one every month or so. This particular story is the most recent one. It details a study to estimate bird collisions with wind turbines based on radar detections of passing birds. Finally, in the footer of every page, there is a simple form for submitting feedback or questions to the Tethys team, so very easy to get in contact with us. So we're going to start by exploring the knowledge base, which is the primary view within Tethys. Now you are immediately asked to select which content you are interested in. This is a sort of pre-filter so that those exclusively interested in wind or marine renewables won't see extraneous content. Your selection can be saved if you're logged into a user account, therefore bypassing the selection. Now we're going to go to wind energy content. The knowledge base is a table view of all publications in Tethys. If you accidentally selected the wrong pre-filter, you can easily change it up here at the top. You currently see that Tethys contains over 2,600 wind documents. There's over 4,000 total if you include marine renewable energy. There are a number of controls to sort and filter the content. The first is that columns can be clicked on to be sorted alphabetically or by date. By default, this list is sorted to show the most recent content at the top. You can also search content with keywords. So this is looking at fields like title, author, date, abstract, but it can be targeted to a specific field. So for example, if you want to specify the search to look exclusively at titles, you can do so, or authors. Finally, down below, Tethys organizes documents based on content type, technology type, stressors, and receptors. We often refer to these as document tags, and I'll explain the tagging system in more detail later, but right now we're just going to click on a page title to view a document. So this is a report that details a collision avoidance study for birds and wind turbines conducted by ORGIP, which is an organization out of the UK that we've partnered with. The publication lists some metadata information about the document. In the box to the upper right, you can see that fields like author, affiliation, and the various tags are all linked. So you can click on any of these links and it will bring up a page of all publications written by the author or produced by the organization. Below this is a box providing access to the document. This is unique from most databases in that Tethys is not just cataloging the existence of documents, but every entry in Tethys has either an uploaded attachment, if copyright allows, or a link to the source, which may require a subscription, as is often the case with journal articles. So this is an automatically generated citation that can be easily copied into a reference list. And then additionally, you can export the document into Google Scholar, BibTeX, or XML for easy export options. Now, before I move on, I do want to get into the tagging system real quick. So this is how you get to the glossary. Now, this page provides high-level details about each technology type, stressor, receptor, or interaction. By technology type, we specify offshore wind versus land-based wind. Stressors, if you're not familiar with the terminology, are the component of the device that has the potential to cause harm to the environment. This may be the noise created by the device, dynamic components such as blades, or static components such as the tower. Next are the receptors, which are part of the environment that is being affected. This is your category for birds, bats, terrestrial mammals, fish, and et cetera. Clicking on any of these tags will open a page with an extended description that lists all documents currently tagged with that technology type, stressor, or receptor. We're now going to look at the next one of the other primary views. This is how you get to the knowledge or to the map viewer. And you can see that this shows 1,500 wind documents. This is a subset of all documents in Tethys. It's all documents that can be geographically tagged with the location. So it's a study that's referring to a specific wind farm or a specific coastline that it's looking at. And this view has very similar searching and filtering to the knowledge base. I'm going to filter the map for only offshore wind content. Click here. You can see now we've filtered down to 560 documents on the map. Now, as you zoom in, these clusters are going to break apart into smaller clusters. We're going to zoom in on the UK. You can see they all break apart. And then you can click on a bubble to open up a list of documents. So you're going to click at this location. This is the location for the Horns Rev offshore wind farm, which is the first commercial offshore wind farm in the world. As such, it has lots of reports to the location. It looks like 42. And we're going to click on the first report, which is about harbor seals at the wind farm. Now, this is very similar to the previous publication page we looked at. The one difference is that there is there's a little mini map that shows the location if the document has been tagged geographically. Now, we're going to look at webinars. This is a table showing all webinars made available on Tethys. This includes 14 quarterly webinars by Ren. Similar to other views we've looked at, you can pre-filter results by water or wind. So we're going to do that now and click on wind. And now clicking on a upcoming event like today's webinar, you can find login information and you can get a downloadable calendar item that you can place in your Outlook or Google Calendar, whatever you use. For past events, you'll have the option to download presentations and view a recording of the webinar. Then you can also click here at any time to subscribe to receive webinar notifications. Let's look at a past webinar page. This is a REN webinar that happened last September. Upscaling wind and wildlife, individual interactions to population level impacts. You can see at the top, you can download presentations. Below that, you can view a live recording of the webinar. And then below that, you can see other webinars if it's associated with the series. Now we're going to jump up here to Tethys Blasts. This is a newsletter that is sent every 2 weeks. It provides announcements such as upcoming webinars, workshops, conferences, and more. At the top, kind of has highlights. And then it will consistently list 5 to 6 documents recently added to Tethys that are new and popular. And then it provides wind energy industry news highlights for the last 2 weeks. It's an easy way to receive updates on wind energy and the environment. Here's a list of all archived Tethys blasts so you can skim through before signing up, see if it's something you're interested in. To the left is an example of a recent Tethys blast from the beginning of June for reference. And you can easily click at the top to subscribe to Tethys blasts. Now I want to show some REN material before we move on. You go to About, and then you get to About REN. This page details the activities and content provided by REN. First, we have a list of 12 countries currently involved in REN. If we scroll down, we see that there is a list of notable REN products, such as the white papers, fact sheets, and short summaries that I mentioned before. And then below that are some quick links into webinars, the knowledge base, map viewer, all pre-filtered for wind. So let's look a little more in detail at a fact sheet. This is the adaptive management fact sheet. Again, these are 2-page summaries on a topic, very easy to read and to get a very high-level understanding of the topic. You can download the page here, and are encouraged to share this. They're occasionally updated, so it's best to point people back to this page. Below that are translated copies of the fact sheet. And then below that is a table that provides all relevant literature to the topic, and this is automatically updated as new documents are added to Tethys. So this is going to be all the sources that were used to create the fact sheet, and then it will also list new sources since the fact sheet has come out. So this will be a pretty holistic view of whatever topic you're looking at. Now I'm going to go over a couple additional tools in Tethys. I'll skim over them real fast. So the first is the organizations page. This is populated as we add documents to Tethys. We track author affiliations, and we track which organizations are sponsoring reports, and we're tagging them. And this has generated a list of 1,300 organizations that are active in the wind and marine renewable energy industries, specifically looking at environmental effects. Another good tool to know about, again under the connections header, is databases. This lists various wind energy databases that provide supplementary information to Tethys. This is part of an effort to create a network and encourage collaboration with other ongoing activities in the wind energy industry. Now, there are more tools on Tethys, but for the sake of time, I'm going to not get into them but do feel free to ask about some of these other features if you're interested. To wrap it up, there are a couple ways that you can get involved with Tethys. You can visit the link to subscribe to Tethys Blast or webinars. Very easy to unsubscribe later if you choose it's not something you want to receive. We also ask that you send us publications when they are available, especially gray literature, as that is harder to come across. simply email it to tethys@pnnl.gov. We usually just need a title and a link. This helps us get literature out more quickly and gives you an outreach mechanism to an international crowd. You can also register for an account on Tethys. This gives you easy access to your subscriptions, access to several tools in Tethys, and the ability to comment and rate on publications being one of those. Finally, look for REN activities at international conferences. Stop by and say hi. That's what I've got. Thanks for listening. Here's the list of our project team. Feel free to contact any of us. And now I will open it up for some questions.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we move to Q&A, please feel free to send your written questions using the chat panel on the lower right-hand side of your screen, and make sure to select all panelists. Once again, for written questions, please make sure to select all panelists on the Send To drop-down menu of the chat panel.
Okay, John, it's Andrea Coffin again. John, thank you very much. That was great. We've got one question here, and I would encourage any of the participants to go ahead and write in questions. The question says, how do we better understand what is going on internationally through REN?
Yeah, that's a good question. I would say that in general, REN is continually meeting, and there's a lot of various activities that they do. You can, it really depends on what you're interested in, but looking at the various fact sheets and short science summaries and white papers are a good way to catch up on the research that's being done. And beyond that, you know, to look for them at workshops and whatnot, you can gain more understanding about what's happening there. There's also the About REN page, and again, that's going to be listing all the activities that they're currently involved in.
Great, thank you. Here's another question, John. Does Tethys link to other interactive sites, such as GIS portals, ArcGIS, story maps, et cetera?
It does. That databases page that I linked to, here we go. It provides a pretty comprehensive list of all of their databases that are working in the space, and this includes more than just those involved in marine renewable energy, or just more than just those involved in the environment. It's looking at wind energy in general. So a lot of these are going to be listing, you know, projects that are around the world in wind energy. And it's a good resource, and as we learn about new databases, we add them here. So this is a continually updated list.
Great. Okay, another question about content and curation. Is new content, reports and articles, sought by Tethys moderators, or is it mostly dependent on self-reporting?
Can you repeat that once more?
So I think the question is asking, do the Tethys moderators, do we go out and actively seek new content, reports and articles, or is it dependent largely on people bringing us? As you mentioned, people can contribute things. Maybe you could speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, the majority of content is found by active searching. As Tethys gains more repertoire, we get more input from the community, but we are constantly receiving, you know, subscriptions to various journals. Those are pretty easy to get, but we're also commonly looking at other databases that are out there. We're combing the web for new reports that are coming out, you know, things that are sent out across different listservs that wind organizations send out. We're connected in all over the place, and so we are actively searching out content. And I would say that's the majority of what we have on Tethys was actively sought out.
Thank you. Okay, we have just a comment here, a nice comment. It says, well done. I have watched Tethys evolve from the beginning, and wow, what an amazing transformation. Excellent work that will help us move forward with renewable energy while minimizing our environmental footprints. Keep up the great work. Well, thank you.
Yeah, thank you very much.
Yeah, John, very good. We have another question here as well. Are there new directions that you see Tethys growing in over the next couple of years?
Yeah, we've, there's kind of this balance between going out and seek, you can almost become a victim of your own success if you keep growing, and it is unique in that it has a pretty narrow scope right now. And so if you are looking for environmental effects of wind energy, it's very on point for that. We have looked at adding socioeconomics, and there is a little bit of socioeconomics currently on the site, and that's an area that we've been slowly expanding a little bit. There's been talk of getting more engineering-focused content on Tethys, but that hasn't really gained traction anywhere yet. So we're open to the ideas, but also, cautious regarding we want to maintain the focus that Tethys currently has.
Maybe I could add a little bit to that. We are asked from time to time, because the Tethys started with marine energy, the wave and tidal, and then added wind. We've been asked whether we'll be moving into solar or geothermal, and I think that's a very strong unlikely. We are funded through Department of Energy wind and water programs. What Jonathan mentioned about engineering, that is papers that are associated, research papers that are associated with how you better design, deploy, operate wind. There is a strong interest in doing that on the marine renewable energy side, and we have not heard as much request on the wind energy side, but I think we're always interested to know what people using Tethys think it could be used for. Mm-hmm. Okay, another question. As Jonathan mentioned, it's hard to keep current with gray literature, but how do we search a database for only gray literature, especially for one geographic area? For example, how would you search for government reports in Arizona?
Yeah. Let me just show you. So I do have Tethys up here live, and I can simply show. If you're looking for gray literature itself, the easy way to do it is to just simply filter by report. What you're going to get here, we kind of use report as a kind of high level. This is all of your technical reports. It could be a annual, monitoring report. It could be an environmental impact statement. It's kind of a broad category, but this is probably the best representation of gray literature. And so, and you could do that same filter for content type if you're looking at the map viewer. You can certainly look in at map viewer takes a little bit to load, so I'll tee it up. But yeah, you could do the same kind of search for reports, and then zoom in on a geographic area, and you can find reports that way.
Okay, there we go. The map's coming up.
Yeah, I forgot to click wind energy.
It takes a little bit. While that's coming up, John, a follow-up, sort of a related question to that, how is gray literature collected? Does it include collection of successfully permitted projects that include analysis of site-specific studies that were conducted during the permitting process?
Yes, it does. And we do look for, specifically looking at environmental impact statements and ones that are, a lot of times those will cover non-environmental topics as we categorize it. So we kind of focus on maybe a couple of the appendices that are focused on, birds, bats, some of the key environmental interactions. We do have a lot of the environmental impact statements. Beyond that, you have a lot of industry reports here. A lot of it is collected, again, through these, database. We do a bunch of scans online, look at various wind energy developers, see what reports they have up. We look through databases to try to get, environmental scoping and permitting documents. It varies, but we try to get all the sources. But that is still an area where we could grow. And if there are any reports that you don't see on Tethys, do let us know. Send us to a link where we can find them, and we'll add those quickly. We're always looking for more. And the hard part with wind energy is the industry has been around for so long. There's decades and decades and decades of reports, and finding all of those is quite hard. And a lot of them are quite frankly unavailable online. So we do it the best that we can to find them and then to maintain them once we identify them. But it's hard when you're going back to the 70s, pre-digital age. I did notice the map viewer's up. So here we can zoom in and you can see within a specific location kind of what reports are there. Looks like actually, interestingly, we don't have a document. We can't filter by report on this one. We kind of, I guess we thought the way we were thinking about was with the map viewer, the intent is that the filters are more geographically based. And people might be less likely to go here and look for, a lot of these are going to be technical reports. So here you can see a statewide assessment, a workshop that was held at this location. So it varies, but so you may not be able to filter by report here right now, but that's something we could add if you're interested in it. Would you field the question, Tanya?
Yes, and that question reads, thousands of EIA reports are available via the UK Planning Inspectorate's website, PINS, covering all recent UK offshore wind farm projects. This could be a useful website to link to.
Oh, thank you. Yeah, we'll definitely check that out. Appreciate it.
And there are no further questions. Oh, we did get one more. Are papers and other publications covering the economic impact of offshore wind on commercial fisheries made available via Tethys?
So offshore wind and what was that?
Offshore wind on commercial fisheries.
Yeah, so what you would want to do here, you can see I've filtered for offshore wind. I guess I don't really need to filter for report. So I've filtered for offshore wind, and then if you look at socioeconomics, that's where you're going to pull up some of this is kind of how we've classified fisheries. Now, if you then want to search for fisheries, here we have 34 34 documents that have showed up that are dealing with offshore wind fisheries, looking at socioeconomic effects of fisheries. So that's a good use case as far as knowledge base and then finding what you're looking for.
Okay, our next question. Can you demo again where to access the list of white papers?
Yeah. To be honest, we are still looking at a better interface where you might be able to filter by them as a content type in the knowledge base. But for now, the way to get to them is through the REN page. And if you scroll down, you will see right here is a list. Now, I should say right now the only white paper that is completed and published is this adaptive management white paper, but we do have several, you can see the list here, several that are underway and should be available within the next couple months to a year. More on the way. Likewise, if you're interested in marine renewables, same type of thing, but on the mirroring Annex 4 page, which is an international collaboration very similar to REN, but for marine renewables.
Okay, and no further questions have come in.
Great. Well, feel free to, we will post a recording of this webinar on Tethys. I'll show you exactly where. You can go over here to broadcasts and then environmental webinars. And now if you click on the Tethys Wind webinar, this page, which currently has login instructions, will soon be replaced by you can get the presentation and the recording. Also, if you do, I mentioned there are some perks if you create an account. You can create an account, and there's a commenting field down at the bottom of the page that will show up. So feel free to write any additional comments that way, and we'll address them here on this page. Thank you all for joining us today. And please do get involved and reach out if you have any more questions. Thank you.
Thank you to our speakers and all who joined in today's audience. This call has concluded. You may now disconnect.